Bangkok, Thailand, November 1971. Bruce Lee has been in the city for 2 days, and he has not found what he came for. He arrived on the Tuesday morning flight from Hong Kong with a single purpose that he has not shared with anyone, not his manager, not his studio contacts, not the well-meaning Thai promoters who have been trying to arrange meetings with famous fighters at the big stadiums near the river. He told them he wanted to see Muay Thai. They heard tourist. They heard curiosity. They did not hear what he was actually saying, which was, I want to find the best Muay Thai fighter in Thailand, and I want to fight him, not for sport, not for demonstration, not for any purpose that would make sense to people who think of fighting as entertainment or competition. He wants to test himself against something real, something that has not been modified for audiences or softened for safety, or shaped into the version of itself that the modern world finds acceptable. He wants the original thing, carried in the body of someone who learned it the old way, before the stadiums and the international attention and the transformation of an ancient warrior art into a spectator sport. He has been looking for 2 days, moving through the city with the patient, systematic attention of someone conducting a serious search, and he has not found it. But he is close. He can feel that with the same instinct that tells him when a technique is about to land before it lands, the body's intelligence operating faster than thought. Bangkok, in November 1971, is where he needs to be. The answer is here. He just has not asked the right person yet. The first gym he visited was near Lumpini Stadium, the most famous venue for Muay Thai in Thailand, perhaps in the world. The fighters there were good, some of them exceptional by any measure, their techniques sharp and their conditioning evident in every movement. But they were training for the stadium, for the rules and the rounds and the judges and the specific constraints that professional sport requires. Bruce watched them for an hour and understood that this was not what he came for. The second gym was smaller, in a neighborhood where tourists rarely ventured, recommended by a hotel clerk who noticed Bruce's interest and understood, perhaps from the way Bruce asked the question, that he was looking for something specific. The training there was harder, less polished, more direct. The fighters had the weathered look of people who had been doing this work for years, in circumstances that did not involve international attention or significant money. Bruce stayed for 2 hours, watching, occasionally asking questions of the trainer, an older man who spoke limited English, but communicated effectively through demonstration and gesture. The trainer was good. The fighters were good. But when Bruce asked if there was anyone better, anyone who carried the deepest knowledge of Muay Thai in its original form, the trainer shook his head and said something in Thai that Bruce understood even without translation to mean, not here. On the third morning, he finds a training gym in the old quarter of the city, not far from Wat Phra, in a narrow street where the tourist traffic has not yet discovered anything worth photographing. The gym has no sign in English. He finds it by following the sound, the rhythmic impact of someone hitting pads with the specific snap that indicates real training rather than exercise, a sound he has followed in a dozen cities and has learned to distinguish from blocks away. Inside, the space is small and hot and smells like decades of sweat worked into wood and leather and concrete. 6 fighters training. A coach moving between them with the economy of someone who has done this work so long that every motion is precisely what it needs to be, and nothing more. Bruce stands in the doorway and watches for 40 minutes without speaking, absorbing everything, reading the patterns of movement and the relationships between the fighters and the particular quality of attention that serious training produces. The coach notices him after the first 10 minutes, but does not acknowledge him, which Bruce, appreciates. He is not here as a guest to be entertained. He is here looking for something specific. After the session ends, the coach approaches him. His name is Somchai. He is perhaps 50, compact and weathered, with the scarred knuckles and thickened joints of someone who spent decades hitting and being hit before transitioning into teaching. He speaks some English, enough for real communication if both parties work at it. They sit on a wooden bench against the gym wall. The other fighters are showering or wrapping their hands or drinking water, the sounds of a training space between sessions. Bruce asks the question he has been refining for 3 days. I am looking for the best Muay Thai fighter in Thailand. Not the stadium champions, not the famous names, the real best, the one who carries the deepest knowledge. Do you know who that is? Somchai looks at him for a long time with an expression that Bruce has seen before on the faces of people who are deciding whether to tell the truth or the easy version. Then he says, "Why do you want to know?" Bruce answers simply, "Because I want to fight him, not in a ring, not for an audience. I want to understand what he knows, and the only way to understand it is to experience it directly." Somchai nods slowly. This answer has apparently satisfied something. He is quiet for a moment, and Bruce can see him making a decision, weighing something internal. Finally he speaks. There is one man. His name is Kru Thep. He is 75 years old. He was the greatest fighter I ever saw, and I have been in Muay Thai since I was 6 years old, watching my father train and fight in the provinces before the big stadiums existed. Kru Thep fought for 40 years, from the time he was 15 until he was 55. And in those 40 years, I never heard of anyone who beat him. Not in the ring, not in the provinces, not in the challenges that happened in those days when fighters would travel to test themselves against each other in ways that had nothing to do with sport, or rules or referees. He fought in ways that no longer exist. Village challenges, temple grounds, anywhere that men gathered to test themselves. He was undefeated through all of it. I saw him fight 3 times when I was young. Once when I was 12, in a provincial match outside Ayutthaya. Once when I was 16, at a temple festival. Once when I was 22, in Bangkok before he retired. Each time I watched him, I understood less and less how he did what he did. He did not fight the way other fighters fought. He did not use the techniques the way other fighters used them. He did something else entirely, something I have spent 30 years trying to understand and have never been able to replicate. He does not fight anymore. He does not teach anymore. He lives at a temple north of the city. He closed that part of his life completely 20 years ago. Nobody bothers him there. He made it clear when he retired that he was finished with fighting and finished with teaching, and that he would not be opened to visitors seeking knowledge or challenges or anything else connected to his former life. Bruce absorbs this, then asks, "If I go to the temple, will he see me?" Somchai considers the question with the seriousness it deserves. After a pause, "I do not know. He is not a cruel man. He will not be contemptuous. But he may simply say no, and if he says no, there will be nothing more to do. You should be prepared for that. You should also be prepared for the possibility that even if he agrees to speak with you, he may not agree to fight you. He is 75 years old. He has been retired for 20 years. The part of him that was a fighter may be completely gone." Bruce nods. He understands. But he also understands something else, something he has learned from years of reading people who have devoted their lives to fighting. Fighters never completely stop being fighters. The knowledge may go dormant. The active practice may end. But something essential remains, carried in the body, present in the way they move and stand, and assess the space around them. If Kru Thep was truly what Somchai says he was, that essential thing will still be there. Bruce asks for directions. Somchai draws a map on a piece of paper torn from a training log, taking time with it, adding landmarks and notes in Thai that he then translates in small, careful handwriting. Before Bruce leaves, Somchai adds one more thing, quietly. If you find him, and if he agrees to fight you, pay attention to everything, not just his techniques, everything. The way he stands, the way he breathes, the space around him. Kru Thep does not fight the way other people fight. He fights the way water moves. If you try to understand it with only your mind, you will miss what matters. Bruce thanks him and walks back out into the Bangkok morning, folding the map into his pocket, feeling the particular clarity that comes when a long search narrows to a specific point. The temple is an hour outside the city center, reached by a route that begins on the main roads and gradually narrows into lanes where the traffic thins and the sounds of Bangkok fade into something older and quieter. Bruce takes a taxi for the first part of the journey and then walks the final 20 minutes, wanting to arrive on foot, wanting to feel the transition from the city to this place rather than simply appearing. The November afternoon is hot, but not oppressive. The air carrying the smell of earth and vegetation and the particular sweetness of temple incense from somewhere ahead. Wat Phra Kaew Noi sits behind a low stone wall thick with moss, the gate standing open in the way of places that are not trying to exclude anyone, but are also not announcing themselves. Bruce stands at the gate for a moment before entering, not from hesitation, but from respect. There is a quality to the silence inside the wall that tells him this is a place where attention has been sustained for a very long time. He steps through. The courtyard is small, paved with old stone flags swept clean with evident care. 3 monks move through the space with the unhurried precision of people for whom every action is practice. And in the center of the courtyard, on a low wooden stool, sits an old man drinking tea. He is smaller than Bruce expected, perhaps 5'4". The specific leanness of someone whose body has been used purposefully for decades and has been reduced to its essentials. His face is deeply lined, his hair white and cropped close. His hands around the teacup stop Bruce for a moment, scarred across the knuckles, thickened at the joints. The unmistakable hands of someone who has been hitting real things, hard things for a very long time, and who has never stopped. These are not the hands of a man who retired 20 years ago and let them soften. These hands remain, in November 1971, completely present. The old man looks up as Bruce crosses the courtyard. His expression does not change. He simply watches with complete attention as Bruce stops at a respectful distance and bows. Bruce speaks slowly, knowing his English will not carry fully, but trusting that intent will reach. My name is Bruce Lee. A man named Somchai sent me. He told me, "You are the greatest Muay Thai fighter Thailand has ever produced. I have come to Bangkok to find the best, and I have been told that is you. I want to fight you. Not to compete, not to prove anything, to learn, to understand what you know that I do not yet know." The old man listens without any change in expression. When Bruce finishes, there is a silence that extends perhaps a full minute. Then Kru Thep looks at one of the monks and says something in Thai. The monk translates quietly. He asks why you think fighting a 75-year-old man will teach you anything. Bruce answers immediately, "Because Somchai told me you were the best he ever saw. And Somchai is not a man who says things he does not mean. Because your hands tell me you have not stopped training. Because I have been searching for real knowledge, and I believe you carry it. The monk translates. Another silence. Kru Thep looks at the courtyard stones as if consulting them. Then he sets down his teacup. He stands. He says something to the monk. The monk translates. He accepts your challenge. One condition. Neither of you stops until one of you ends it. Bruce nods. That is the only condition he would have wanted. The three monks take positions along the courtyard wall without being directed. They sit with straight backs and hands on their knees. The composed attention of people who understand they are about to witness something that deserves their complete presence. The Bangkok afternoon has reached its warmest point. The air above the courtyard stones shimmers slightly. Incense from the temple interior drifts through in thin threads. Kru Thep removes his outer robe and folds it with care and places it on the wooden stool. Beneath, simple white training clothes. He walks to the center of the courtyard and stands in a position that Bruce's trained eye immediately begins to assess and immediately finds confusing. Weight distribution unusual. Hands lower than conventional defensive wisdom would recommend. Head apparently exposed. Every principle Bruce has developed over 15 years tells him this stance contains openings. But Somchai's words return. Pay attention to everything. He notes his analysis and sets it aside and takes his own position opposite the old man. Jeet Kune Do ready stance, refined to its essence. He breathes. He looks across the courtyard stones at Kru Thep. The fight begins. Bruce moves first. Controlled jab, testing distance and reaction time. It finds nothing. Kru Thep has moved with an economy so minimal it barely registers as movement. A shift of inches that made the technique arrive at empty air. No drama, no visible effort, just perfect timing deployed with complete efficiency. Bruce resets, attacks from a different angle, testing for pattern. Again, nothing. Again, that minimal shift, always arriving at the correct position a fraction of a second before Bruce's technique reaches it. The old man is not countering. He is not hitting back. He is simply declining to be where the attacks are going, doing it with a tranquility that is more unsettling than aggression. 5 minutes of this. Then, Kru Thep strikes. Bruce does not see where it comes from. He is moving, committed to a combination, and then something arrives at his face, and the courtyard stones are under his hands and knees. He stays there for a moment, breathing. His mind is already reviewing, trying to locate the moment where the strike originated. It cannot find it. There is no sequence to analyze. He gets up. Kru Thep has not moved. He is waiting with the patience of stone. Bruce attacks again. He is hit again. An elbow from an angle his guard had assessed as covered. Down again. Up again. This continues for 25 minutes. 9 times Bruce Lee goes down on the courtyard stones of Wat Phra Kaew Noi in the Bangkok afternoon of November 1971. 9 times he gets up. Not from pride or stubbornness. He gets up because he understands that what is happening here is the most important education he has received in years. Each time he rises, something deepens. His mind is working with everything it has, every tool, every principle, 15 years of accumulated knowledge. And the problem resists him completely. Every time he thinks he has found the key, it changes. Every time he thinks he has identified the pattern, it dissolves. On the 9th time down, lying with his cheek against the cool stones, breathing the incense-scented air, he has a moment of seeing his own mind from outside. He sees it running, generating and analyzing and correcting without pause, filling every instant with activity, never resting, always processing. And he sees with sudden clarity that this activity, this relentless intelligence that has served him so well everywhere else, is precisely what Kru Thep has been using against him. Not through strategy, but through patience. Every analysis takes time. Microseconds, but time. And in those microseconds, the old man is elsewhere. The mind is the gap. The mind is the cage. Bruce gets up for the 9th time. He breathes. Something releases. Not through will, because that would be an act of mind, but through recognition. A simple seeing of the thing for what it is, and a willingness to let it go quiet. Like a hand opening. What remains is awareness without commentary, presence without agenda, attention without the constant filtering of interpretation. He looks at Kru Thep and sees him purely, without analysis overlay, without calculation of angles and distances. Just an old man in white clothes standing in a Bangkok courtyard in November 1971, alive and present. He breathes. He waits. Kru Thep moves. And Bruce moves with him, not as reaction, but as continuation, the way shadow moves with body. The opening appears not because it was created, but because it was always there, visible only to eyes that stopped looking for it. Bruce's right leg rises. The kick carries 20 years of training in its purest form, without the interference of the mind that developed it. Precise with the precision of something beyond technique, it connects exactly where it needs to. Kru Thep goes down. The courtyard is completely silent. The monks do not move. The incense smoke continues its drift. The afternoon light continues its movement across the stones, indifferent and beautiful. Bruce stands breathing, feeling the 25 minutes settle through his body, every impact and fall finding its place in the larger story. Then Kru Thep begins to laugh. It starts low, barely audible, and grows into something full and genuine, the laugh of someone who has witnessed something that moves him. He sits up slowly, one scarred hand against the courtyard floor, and looks up at Bruce with eyes that have opened completely, warm and direct. Bruce crosses to him and offers both hands. Kru Thep takes them and allows himself to be helped up with dignity. They stand facing each other, both breathing, both marked by what just passed. The monk comes close. Kru Thep speaks. The monk translates carefully. For 25 minutes, the old man says, "You fought with your mind. I have watched fighters for 60 years, and I have never seen a mind like yours. Fast, precise, trained to a degree I rarely witness. But your mind was also your prison. Every time I struck you, your mind paused to understand. And while it understood, I had already moved to the next moment. You cannot hold water by closing your fist. You cannot catch what is gone by analyzing how it left." He pauses. The light moves on the stones. The last technique was different. I felt it arriving before it arrived. Not because it was slow, because it was true. When something comes from the place beyond thinking, it carries a quality I cannot put into words. I have felt it perhaps 20 times in 60 years. From men who spent entire lives learning to step aside from themselves. You found that place today after 25 minutes. His dark eyes are steady on Bruce's face. In 60 years, I have not seen that before. Bruce bows deeply, held for several seconds, genuine respect. When he straightens, "I came to Bangkok looking for the best Muay Thai fighter in Thailand. You gave me something larger than Muay Thai. Something I have been trying to name for years." Kru Thep makes a gentle dismissive motion. "I gave you nothing. You already had it. You have carried it a long time. Today, you simply remembered it was there. The monks bring tea. Bruce and Kru Thep sit on the wooden stools as Bangkok afternoon moves toward evening. Light going golden, then amber, then the first cool breath of night coming over the temple wall. The old man talks. The monk translates. Bruce listens with absorbed stillness. Kru Thep speaks of Muay Thai's deep history, the warrior traditions from which it emerged, the teachers who trained him in the 1910s and 1920s, men who carried knowledge stretching back centuries. He speaks of philosophy embedded in ancient forms that most practitioners no longer understand. He speaks of the body's intelligence, wisdom stored in nervous system and muscle and bone, intelligence accessed only when mind becomes quiet enough to stop overriding it. He speaks of water and flow and the ancient understanding of yielding as the deepest strength. Bruce recognizes in everything the same truth he has been trying to articulate for years in his notebooks and teaching. The same insight arriving from a different direction through a different tradition. Two streams from different mountains finding the same valley. Before Bruce leaves, as Bangkok night stars become visible above the temple wall one by one, Kru Thep goes inside the small residence and returns holding something. A mongkhon, traditional Muay Thai headband, old, worn smooth by decades of handling, faded to the color of time. He places it in Bruce's hands without words. Bruce holds it, understanding completely that no words are necessary and asking would diminish the gift. He bows one final time. He walks through the gate and back down the narrow lane toward Bangkok lights, carrying the mongkhon in both hands, walking through the warm November night as city sounds gradually return. He carries it back to his hotel. He carries it on the flight to Hong Kong. He carries it to Los Angeles. He keeps it in his training room on a small shelf. There, when he trains mornings and teaches afternoons and writes evenings. Students ask about it sometimes, the worn headband. He always answers the same way. I met someone in Bangkok in November 1971 who showed me something important. He never says more. Some things cannot be explained to someone who was not there. Some things can only be understood by going to Bangkok and finding the right temple and asking the right question and paying the full price of the answer, which is falling down 9 times on ancient stones and finding, in the getting up, the thing you did not know you had lost. And that thing, once found and understood, becomes the foundation upon which everything else is built. It changes how you move and teach and see and understand what fighting truly is at its deepest level. Years later, when students asked about certain principles he taught, principles from a place beyond technique, he would sometimes touch the mongkhon and say nothing, and students paying attention understood the silence itself was the answer, that some knowledge cannot be transmitted through words, but only through willingness to fall and rise and fall again, until the body remembers what the mind forgot. The mongkhon remains on that shelf in Bruce Lee's training room in Los Angeles through 1972 and into 1973, a quiet presence that asks no questions and offers no explanations, simply existing as a reminder of an afternoon in Bangkok, when the best fighter in the world discovered that being the best meant understanding how little he actually knew, and how much further the path extended beyond anything he had previously imagined, and how the real mastery was not in the techniques themselves, but in the space between thinking and action, the place where the body knows what to do before the mind can interfere, the territory that Kru Thep had spent 75 years learning to inhabit, and that Bruce, in 25 minutes of falling and rising, had briefly touched, and would spend the rest of his life trying to return to, not through force or analysis or the accumulation of more techniques, but through the gradual quieting of everything that stood between intention and action, between knowledge and being. In the months that follow, Bruce finds himself referring back to that afternoon in ways both obvious and subtle, in the way he teaches his students to feel rather than think their way through techniques, in the way he begins to value the pauses in training as much as the action, in the moments when he stops mid-demonstration and simply breathes and lets his body show what his words cannot adequately convey. And his students notice something has changed in him, something that makes the techniques he teaches more alive and less mechanical, though none of them can quite articulate what that something is or where it came from or why it feels so different from everything that preceded it.